And we're back with Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Collateral Damage, Part 3. When we left off, Donovan had rescued Maribel from the clutches of her ex-boyfriend and found out that Manny knew where she was all along. Meanwhile, back on the mainland in Dallas, Angela and Miss Bernie had just wrapped up their meeting, and Miss Bernie had admitted that Veronica had skipped town with baby Bella and baby Chance. Angela told Miss Bernie, if you don't have anything to do with whatever it is that Veronica has going on, prove it. Miss Bernie said, how? I'll do anything. And then her cell phone rang. It was Angela. The two were still connected to the virtual meeting on their laptops, and when Miss Bernie answered, Angela said, come to the estate right now and stay on this FaceTime call with me the entire way. It looks like Q and LJ are rubbing off on Miss Angela. She's starting to think more like a detective. She was not about to give Miss Bernie the opportunity to contact Veronica or anybody else between the warehouse and the estate. When Miss Bernie pulled up to the estate, Angela quickly opened the gate and was waiting for her at the front door, still connected to the FaceTime. When Miss Bernie walked up the steps, Angela held her hand out. Miss Bernie looked confused and Angela said, your cell phone. Miss Bernie handed her the phone, and when they walked in the house, they immediately went on a search for the Queen Mother. They found her in the kitchen, wrapping up her preparations for dinner and her phone call with Pops Andy. He just told her about his conversation with Donovan, and she just told him that Veronica picked up the children. He'd reassured her that Veronica wouldn't do anything stupid, and now Angela and Miss Bernie are standing in the kitchen, and Angela looks like she's just seen a ghost. And before Angela even opened her mouth, the Queen Mother knew something was wrong. She said, Angela, where are my grandbabies? Angela looked at Miss Bernie and said, tell her. Meanwhile, school let out a few hours ago. Q and LJ went to pick up all of the children and take them to visit MomBrenda at the hospital. When they arrived with 6 of the 8 children in tow, Q and Angela's 3 and LJ and Regina's 3, MomBrenda asked, using the tablet, where is Chance and baby Bella? They're with Veronica. My mom's supposed to be calling her and letting her know that you want to see her and the children. MomBrenda greeted each one of the children, giving them hugs and kisses. And then Melissa asked, Nana Brenda, what was it like in the line? Melissa had been telling anyone who would listen that Nana Brenda was in the line, and that the reason why she hadn't woken up from her coma was because it wasn't her turn yet to see him. When asked for more information, she told them that he was reviewing each person's book and that her Nana's book wasn't completed. So God had to send her back so that she could finish. According to Melissa, all Nana Brenda had to do was ask, and God would oblige. So all of the children, Q and LJ, were patiently waiting to see how MomBrenda was going to handle this. Using the tablet, MomBrenda said, it was absolutely beautiful, baby. I had to wait my turn. I kept trying to raise my hand, but God was giving each person his undivided attention. It felt like I was in the line forever, but only a short while, all at the same time. And when it was my turn, I told God just what you told me to tell him. I told him that I wasn't done yet, that my story wasn't complete. And he did exactly what you said he would. He sent me back. But he didn't send me back because I asked, baby. He sent me back because you did. Holding Melissa's hand, MomBrenda said in an extremely raspy voice, always ask God for what you need. If he doesn't give it to you, that means you didn't need it, baby. Then, using the tablet again, she told all of the children, never take matters into your own hands. Put it in God's hands and let him direct your steps. Rely on the unction of the Holy Spirit, not your own understanding. There's a way that seems right to man, but it leads only to destruction. Then she listened as each one of the children told them how things had been going from their perspectives. And before they left, MomBrenda reiterated to Q that she needed to see Donovan. And she told LJ that she needed to see Regina. When Q, LJ, and the children got back to the estate, Pops Andy, the Queen Mother, Angela, and Miss Bernie were all waiting for them in the study. Pops Andy said, take the children to Anya and Mom Joyce and come right back. When they returned, Q looked at his wife And Angela looks at Miss Bernie and says, tell him. This would be Miss Bernie's third time recounting the entire situation and misunderstanding as it related to Veronica, Donovan, and the children. Miss Bernie is like family to Angela. She was one of Angela's mother, Miss Cheryl's closest friends, and a long-term employee at Angela's company, Vibrantly You. She went from the warehouse manager to the COO. She'd relocated from North Carolina to Denver and to Dallas with Angela and her family. So up until now, Angela's had no reason to distrust Miss Bernie. But her recent behavior and Veronica's disappearance has certainly created some questions. And when she tells Q that Veronica has left town with both of the children, he looks over at his mother and he can't tell if the Queen Mother is about to faint or beat the hell out of Miss Bernie. Thankfully, Pops Andy is standing behind her chair with a hand on her shoulder and a pretty good grip to prevent either from happening. Q says, and she didn't answer when you called her, my dear? The Queen Mother said no. We've all called her, over and over again. Q said, well, let me see your phone, Miss Bernie. Angela said, I have it. And I tried to call Veronica from it too. And Veronica stopped sharing her location with Miss Bernie as well. Miss Bernie had already apologized, fervently and emphatically, and insisted that she had absolutely no idea that Veronica was intending to leave town with both of the children, and while she was informed that Veronica was leaving with baby Bella, she had no idea where Veronica was going, and she assumed that Veronica couldn't go far and that she wouldn't be going for long. It was only after Angela informed her that Veronica had a $500,000 check from Donovan and that she had baby Chance that she realized that things were a lot worse than she initially believed. When Q started questioning her about everything she could possibly tell them, she told them everything she knew, including that Veronica had never said that Donovan wasn't taking care of or providing for baby Bella. She simply said that Donovan wasn't giving her any money. Miss Bernie, being old school, assumed that that meant Donovan wasn't taking care of baby Bella. It would never have occurred to her that Donovan was making purchases of his own accord or allowing Veronica to use his account to order groceries. So she didn't know that Donovan was completely footing the bill for all of Bella and Chance's expenses, or that he had continued to do so even after Veronica refused to get back together with him. She did try to talk Veronica out of leaving town with baby Bella, but she would have tried harder if she knew that there wasn't a lesson to be taught. She even had text messages in her phone after Veronica left to prove it. And midway through her efforts to rationalize and reason with Veronica, her iPhone messages had turned green. Q said, what about the man that Donovan accused Veronica of seeing? Miss Bernie said, I know nothing about that. I didn't even know she was seeing anybody until that day when she got arrested. She was getting dressed for a date when the police showed up. Q said, and you don't know his name, what he does for a living, nothing? Miss Bernie said, I've never seen him. She's never mentioned his name. She wouldn't have even told me there was a man if I wasn't there that day. What I do know is she had been seeing him for some time because she alluded to that fact when I questioned her about it. But the truth of the matter is, Veronica never talked to me about her personal relationships. All I really knew was that her and Donovan weren't working out. She was done with him. He'd given up on her and he'd moved on, and apparently so did she. Q said, and what about your brother, her father? A little over 2 years before, Veronica and Miss Bernie found out that they were aunt and niece. Miss Bernie's brother Clarence impregnated Veronica's mother when they were in high school, and Veronica's mother's family sent her to live in Louisiana and refused to tell Clarence where she went. They never even told him that she had a baby or that she was even pregnant in the first place. Miss Bernie said, Clarence hasn't talked to her. He hasn't seen her either. I called him, but you can check if you don't believe me. Q said, and what about her mother's family? Miss Bernie said, now all I know is after her mother died when she was 18, she never saw her family in Louisiana again, and she'd never been to Moline until she found out that Clarence was her father. And I don't know that she connected with any of her mother's family in Moline, but I do know one of her aunts who still lives there. Q said, and do you know the names of any of the family members in Louisiana? Miss Bernie said, no, but her aunt in Moline will. While they were having this discussion, Pops Andy got a phone call from Donovan in Puerto Rico. That morning, after Donovan took out the 12 men guarding the warehouse where Maribel's ex-boyfriend Miguel was holding her hostage, Donovan and Manny shook hands, and Manny said, get my daughter out of here. My driver will take you wherever you need to go. At the car, Maribel said, I'm not going back to the estate in this car. I'm going however you got here. Donovan said, I got here on the back of a motorcycle. You riding in tandem? Then he looked down at the A-line skirt that Maribel was wearing and shook his head. Maribel said, you riding, I'm rolling. Donovan gave the driver directions that would get him as close as possible to where he had the bike parked in the woods. And then he and Maribel started trucking it. Donovan said, I would offer to carry you on my back, but I don't know if that's going to work. That skirt kind of short and tight. Maribel said, I'm used to the terrain, just not in these heels. If we go slow enough, I'll be all right. As they walked, the couple talked. Donovan said, so you got niggas out here stalking you, huh? Maribel said, no, and I really hate that word, Donovan. Donovan said, what, stalking? What you want me to say, harassing? She said, no, the N-word. Donovan said, then don't use it. But the last thing I need is a woman policing my language. I love God, but I curse a little. And considering that you out here giving men sexless orgasms, I don't think you should be judging. Maribel laughed and said, I'm not out here giving men sexless orgasms, Donovan. I gave you a sexless orgasm. You're going to have to go back to Queenpin to hear about that. Donovan said, I don't usually ask women about their past because I don't want nobody asking me about mine. But are you telling me that I'm the only man you've ever done that to? Maribel said, yes, you are. Donovan said, then how you know it worked? Maribel said, you're the only man I've done it to. Donovan said, oh, this is going to be fun. Let me find out you hitting for both teams. Maribel said, science, Donovan. It's called research. Donovan said, you can't tell me that you can scientifically go around giving people orgasms and it not be unethical. Maribel said, I've done studies with couples. I've demonstrated the technique, guided each partner until they were able to duplicate it, and on the rare occasion before my demonstration was complete, Donovan said, they were complete. Maribel, who tried to remain professional, burst out laughing right along with Donovan. She said, you are a trip. As they reached Donovan's motorcycle, he asked, is there anything that I should know about what happened after Miguel kidnapped you? Maribel said, he was a perfectly unhinged gentleman. He didn't lay a hand on me. Donovan said, good. Now, where you learn to fight like that? Maribel said, my father ensured that all of his children were well versed in jiu-jitsu and various other means of protecting ourselves. Now, you tell me something. How did you manage to get past all of Miguel's guards? I counted at least 10 of them. Donovan said, oh, I killed them. Maribel stopped in her tracks and stared at Donovan, and Donovan just stared back. Maribel said, is this the part where you tell me that you're working for one of the families? Donovan said, absolutely not. Maribel said, how have you been able to avoid working for one of your families? Donovan said, I didn't even know there was work to do for my families until the dinner. The Queen Mother and Pops Andy had told their children all about their past during the family dinner. Donovan said, I had a whole lot of questions after that dinner, but absolutely no interest in being in the criminal enterprise. When they reached his bike, Donovan handed Maribel the spare helmet that he'd purchased just for her. They got on. She hiked up that skirt, and they rode back to her estate. When they got there, they enjoyed a light breakfast prepared by her staff, and as they fed one another fruit, things began to heat up. Donovan said, I'm ready for my prize, sunshine. He picked Maribel up, and she directed him to her master bedroom. When they got there, Donovan took his time, undressing Maribel from head to toe. And every time he removed an item of clothing, he covered the body part that was revealed in kisses. And Maribel didn't disappoint. She wasn't a lazy lover. So, as she helped him out of his clothes, she returned the favor. And just as she reached for her nightstand drawer to obtain a prophylactic, somebody knocked on the bedroom door. Donovan said, oh, hell no, you got to be kidding me. Maribel said, what do you need? Maribel's housekeeper said, I'm sorry to interrupt, madam, but your father's downstairs. Donovan said, that nigga cock blocking. Maribel said, tell him I'll be right down. Then her housekeeper said, he wants to see the gentleman, madam. Donovan looked at Maribel and said, oh yeah, he cock blocking.